Welcome to the video installation guide for Cretus Top Shelf Epoxy Cove.
In this video, we'll show you how to install the most popular of the Cretus Cove systems, Epoxy Color Cove. Cretus offers two other Epoxy Cove systems, Epoxy Cove Color Quartz and Epoxy Cove Color Chip. More on those later. The Epoxy Cove Color system consists of 4 applications. The prime, body, and cap coats are all pigmented top-shelf epoxy cove resin at different thicknesses and with different aggregates and additives mixed in. The part B that you choose for the prime, body, and cap coat is based on concrete testing, climate at the time of application, and applicator skill level. For most cove installations, traditional hardener, or TH, can be used. It is our most economically priced Part B.
Top Shelf Epoxy accelerant can be added to speed up curing times. The top coat can be any thin-set UV-resistant Cretus product with optional anti-slip additive. Before you select any Cretus system or product, conduct moisture vapor emission and humidity tests on the concrete. Then fill out your pre-job checklist. This will help you determine which Cretus products to use in the system. After you receive your order, inspect it to confirm the number of kits and the coverage rate are equal to the linear footage of your cove. Also check the batch numbers on any pigmented buckets or individual color packs to confirm they all match.
When installing wall cove, the wall cove installation should begin before the floor installation for a seamless wall-to-floor transition. Remove any and all contaminants. Remove all non-durable surfaces. If water gets behind the wall cove covering, it will crack. Make sure that all termination points are sealed with industrial-grade polyurethane-based caulk. Set up a mixing station with tarps, buckets, gloves, tape, paint sticks, rollers, chip brushes, rags, a mixing drill with mixing blade, a bottle of window cleaner, a flat trowel, and a 1-inch radius cove trowel. Measure and mark the height of your cove on the wall around the perimeter, and on any pillars, islands, or anywhere else you will be building wall cove. Next, mark the radius on the floor. Snap a chalk line to connect the measurements you've marked. Place tape along the outside of your chalk lines, leaving the dimensions of the cove inside. The more clean and precise your tape lines are, the nicer your cove will look. A second tape line may be applied to widen the boundary and make it easier to remove. For this educational video, we will be demonstrating on simulated wooden teaching boxes and actual job site applications. We begin our installation with the prime coat, which is top shelf epoxy. The standard kit mix ratio for top shelf epoxy cove primer is 1 gallon of Part A cove resin, 1/2 gallon of Part B traditional hardener, and 16 ounces of colorant.
The spread rate is 1,000 linear square feet per kit. Start by adding 1 gallon of Part A cove resin to a clean 5-gallon bucket.
Use a paint stick to get all of the material. Add 16 ounces of colorant and mix until color is uniform. Add 1/2 gallon of Part B and mix for 2 minutes. Pour material into smaller buckets and brush onto the area in between your tape lines, up the wall and on the floor. Apply a thick layer of primer without allowing it to puddle. There is no need for the prime coat to dry. You can follow right behind with the body coat. It is the tackiness of the prime coat that helps to hang the cove material. The Cove body coat is also top shelf epoxy cove resin mixed with industrial sand and silica flour. The body coat in this system is what gives it its concave shape. It can be from 4 inches to 6 inches high and 1 inch off the wall. The most common cove radius is 1 inch. However, it can go down to 1/2 inch with non-standard cove trowels if job specs require. When time or experience don't allow for traditional cove to be formed, a technique called cant cove can be used by creating a 45-degree angle over the joint instead. Standard cove trowels come with square corners. To make the tool easier to work with, use a grinder to round them off. The standard kit mix ratio for Cove body coat is 1 gallon of epoxy Part A Cove resin, 1/2 gallon of Part B hardener, 8 to 16 ounces of top-shelf epoxy colorant, and 50 pounds of industrial sand mixed with silica flour. However, to make the batches easier to handle, we recommend that you pre-measure and mix smaller batches. That's 1 quart of A, 1/2 quart of B, and 5 to 6 quarts of sand mix.
This can also be done for the prime coat.
Start by adding 1 gallon of Part A Cove resin to a clean 5-gallon bucket. Add 16 ounces of colorant and mix for 2 minutes. Divide the pigmented Part A into 4 quarts and measure 1/2 quart of Part B. Pour 1 quart of the pigmented Part A into a clean 5-gallon bucket. Add your Part B and begin mixing. Add sand and mix for 2 minutes. While blending the mixture, the weight of the sand will unsteady the bucket. Make sure that it is secure to the floor. Adding silica flour can thicken and slightly dry the material. Forming the Cove starts with depositing material into the wall termination joint. Make sure your prime coat is still tacky and you evenly distribute the material along the wall. Using your flat trowel, push the material towards the wall, angling the blade backwards, allowing it to pack into the corner. Then, keeping pressure on your back edge, pull and smooth the material up the wall. For this demonstration, we will not use tape in order to showcase the motion of forming the Cove. Spray window cleaning solution on the Cove and on your trowels to slick them and keep material from sticking. You can also use greater than 90% isopropyl alcohol or acetone in a pinch. Using your 1-inch radius Cove trowel, form the concave curvature by pushing or pulling the tool through the material. Make contact with both the wall and the floor. Apply pressure to the forming edge of the Cove trowel as you push or pull. This will allow the radius curve to form the material into your Cove. When pulling the material, your forming edge is at your fingers. When pushing the material, it is at your palm. When building wall Cove around corners, gather material at the corner and push it up against the wall. Hold it in place with your Cove trowel. This is setting your edge. Bring your flat trowel around the other side and sweep remaining material up into the open space. Scrape it past the forming edge of the Cove trowel, leaving the Cove edge in place. Continue this motion with both tools until the material is smooth and clean. Inside corners are easier. Push the far edge of the tool into the corner on both walls. Then pull the material, spreading it away from the corner. Four-inch Cove has a spread rate of 60 linear feet per kit, while the 6-inch Cove is 40. Find your Part B on this chart for working and recoat times. This link will take you to the top shelf epoxy product guide. For TH, the working time in the bucket is 20 to 25 minutes, with a recoat time of 8 to 24 hours. Pull tape and allow Cove to dry overnight. Sand or scrape out any bumps or imperfections before proceeding to the grout coat. The purpose of the grout coat, also called the cap coat, is to create a smooth surface over the rough sand in the body coat. If your prime coat for the entire floor is also epoxy, you can coat it all at once. If not, just apply your grout coat over the Cove. The standard kit mix ratio for top shelf epoxy as a cap coat is 1 gallon of Part A, 1/2 gallon of Part B, and 16 ounces of colorant. Once again, mix the colorant into Part A, add Part B, and mix for 2 minutes. Using rollers and brushes, apply a thick layer of material over the Cove, not allowing it to puddle. Roll over the face and radius of the Cove using non-shed nap rollers. Use a brush to get the corners and hard-to-reach areas. This is an example of cap coat over large cant Cove. Use non-shed nap rollers for the radius curve and face of the Cove, and chip brushes for touch-up, corners, and hard-to-reach places. If the floor's prime coat is also epoxy, coat the Cove first, and then the floor. Allow cure time based on your Part B. If using TH, it is 8 to 24 hours. When you can, allow the coating to dry overnight. The top coat is the system's final application and its first line of defense against the elements. Polyaspartic, the top coat in this video, has a high gloss finish and protects the epoxy underneath from UV degradation. The Anti-Slip Tex 50 adds slip resistance and durability. The standard kit mix ratio for polyaspartic as a top coat is 1 gallon of Part A, 1 gallon of Part B, and 20 to 22 ounces of Anti-Slip Tex 50. Combine in a clean 5-gallon bucket and mix for 2 minutes. Roll and brush the material onto the Cove completely, not allowing it to puddle. It is best to coat the perimeter Cove first, then the rest of the floor. This completes the installation guide for Cretus Epoxy Color Cove. Apply these techniques when installing Cretus Epoxy Color Cove for the most seamless wall-to-floor transition in the business. Follow our YouTube channel for more system videos, Coatings Condensed, and Cretus Academy. Thank you for choosing Cretus and our thoughtfully designed concrete coatings.